My name is David Howes. I hold 4 degrees in anthropology and 2 degrees in law. I teach in the Department of Anthropology at Concordia University and in the Faculty of Law at McGill. I therefore lead a double life in law and anthropology. I'm also bilingual, so I also oscillate between the 2 languages. It was in 1990 that I went to Papua New Guinea, and my idea was to explore the life of the senses in an oral society. How do people sense the world and perhaps think differently when their world is more acoustic than our world, which, because we live in a literate society, is more keyed to the visual. I found many fascinating insights into the differential life of the senses. Most recently, I've been directing a project called Explorations in Sensory Design. Myself and my students would go to 6 sorts of public spaces: the museum, the mall, the hospital, the festival, and we would analyze the sensory ambience of those places and suggest ways in which they might be rendered more sensorially and socially inclusive. The anthropology of the senses is concerned with how the senses are constructed differently in different societies. Some societies may attach more emphasis to hearing, to smelling, than to seeing. And space is also multisensory when you come to think of it, but we tend to have a very visual conception of space, and we also think of it as empty. In fact, space is full of sounds and smells, and the idea is that through studying how the senses are cultivated in other societies, we can learn how we might also bring out the sensory dimensions of space better in our own society. The notion of atmosphere is a wonderfully rich idea. It refers both to a climate and to a mood, and therefore to understand how spaces are generative of both climates and moods is absolutely essential. You find, because of an emphasis on experience design in recent years, more and more attention being paid to designing atmospheres that respond to and engage as many senses as possible. That would be already evident in, for example, a place like the Duomo, but also you find now in theme parks and so forth, this emphasis on immersion. So the idea of immersion, the idea of engaging the senses and of creating moods is very important. How best to study that? Through anthropology, through doing a sensory ethnography of how people sense and make sense of the environment. In the digital age, we find ourselves living at more and more distance from reality because of all the virtual realities we construct. People react by wanting to go to the opposite pole and immerse themselves in sensory experiences. That is something that we need to respond to. Enough screens, let's have more touch. And so to design for touch, to design for smell, to design for all of the senses that are not two-dimensional, like vision, not reducible to the screen, is absolutely essential to give people that alternative. I find the specializing master in designing atmospheres of POLI.design to be a very exciting development. It responds to a hunger for more sensory fulfillment on the part of the public who are tired of living a life exclusively surrounded by screens. And it is indeed this idea of engaging all the senses, of speaking to all of our senses and engaging our emotions that is not only demanded by society, but is the path of the future. So in that regard, the career opportunities are very bright because of this hunger for sensory experience that needs to be satisfied on the part of the public.